Welcome to the Rhetorical Sake. I'm still working on an intro song, but in any case, welcome back to my podcast. We're calling it the Rhetorical Sake. I'm ER Hunter, aka Earth. Yo, I have been dealing with some serious depression, and it just has not even been funny for the past few days. Actually, for the past week. But the cloud has lifted. It comes and it goes, and I'll discuss more about that. But if you can relate, I would love to hear from you, how you cope. And I'm going to share a little bit about the meds I'm on. I'm not scared to do that. In any case, and I want to share about that because I cannot drink or smoke weed anymore. So it's a conversation I'm willing to have. In any case, one thing that helped me not feel so depressed and put a huge smile on my face, I pride myself on my maintaining my masculinity despite how my voice sounds. Most people, I'm a bit ambiguous when it comes to my sexuality. My mother raised me when I came out to her. She said, "Don't let that shit enter the door before you do." That may not be how she said it, but that's how I heard it. So that's all that matters. In any case, Beyonce, Beychella. Oh, Beychella. Whoa. For Coachella to live stream what people pay thousands of dollars to experience in person is absolutely amazing. So shout out to YouTube. Even though I have a bone to pick with you guys and your feature film, The Thinning, because there's no creator listed because I am the creator. That's my idea. I've already made that film 10 years ago. It's called The Steward, and it's been up on your website. You guys just made it into a feature-length film and put some arrogant blonde guy in it as the supporting co-star. In any case, this is not about that. This is about Beyonce's performance and why she is still the reigning queen of the music industry. Now, if you're not part of the Beehive, I have a lot of black females in my life, and some of them are just, they're like, I can't stand her. And I get it. I'm really not the bandwagon type, but like I've said before and I've mentioned, when the trajectory continues to go up and up, when the person continues to work, they don't stop. I'm there's potential that I'm gonna check it out. And so Beyonce, she's 36, I'm 28. So I've looked up to her in the music industry since growing up. I've been an aspiring singer, songwriter, and I've come into my own. I'm still trying to figure out my voice, but I've put in some step work and I've even gone to New York City, as I explained before, and I've worked in the Manhattan Center, trying to get a music deal, trying to get my sound out there and develop my voice. And it's tough. It is tough. So, with that said, I gotta give a shout out to Bay because the performance was absolutely sick. And I didn't think they would be featuring her for Coachella weekend too, but I'm checking the lineup and she's definitely listed. So for this to go down twice is epic. And I'm sure that's nothing for her because if you're going to be a pop star performer, you perform night after night, routine after routine, and that's why they can kill it because they know it. And as a performance artist myself, I've done choreography and dance. I have competed in competitions in college where the judge was Mandy Moore, some casting directors, things like that, and gotten great feedback. And when you know your moves and you know your voice and you know the song, you can be in that moment like none other. And some people will say something comes over me and people want to conspiracy and theorize oh, that's a demon, that's the devil. Actually, in my opinion, that's called passion. So that's what happens to me. So I totally get it when Bey is in the zone. And so I want to break it down. And someone backstage took a picture of the breakdown of the show that was listed, which is kind of a traitor move. I certainly probably would not have the cojones to do that out of fear of being mysteriously murdered, but they did it. So we're going to work off that just to kind of recap what went down. So the intro opens up. We got the snare drum. We know there's going to be some type of drum line, marching band, black alma mater feel to this. And she presents herself as this Egyptian queen. Beautiful, black cape, very luxurious. And that outfit was only relevant for that first couple of minutes, if that, of the show. Does a costume change, show opens up, she comes out on top of this pyramid bandstand and performs Crazy in Love. And we know Crazy in Love was that breakout single where she transitioned out of old Beyonce into this Sasha Fierce, this independent woman, no more in a group. And she broke out of her shell and she really made a name for herself. But she brings it back as she's working with this marching band and they're adorning letters. B, they got I think that's a delta, the triangle sign, and then the K. So it's her initials, but I know her middle initial is an A, so that would be Alpha. So I'm thinking like, okay, this is definitely representing The Rock, Hove. Conspiracy theorists can go berserk with that one. And I'm skeptic myself. Obviously, I've gone down that rabbit hole on YouTube. But the fact that she calls that stuff out in her song, I think it just all plays into the marketing. So I was taught any advertising is good advertising. So then she goes into a freedom anthem, which is a very soulful African American, almost gospel. Definitely a call to justice and a reference to equality and things that we're struggling with. This was a very culturally appropriate song choice, and for her to bring that into a performance and use her platform to register a greater meaning, I mean, that's amazing, because at the end of the day, her and I share the same, almost the same color of skin, same complexion, but we're both black. And if she wasn't Beyonce, she could just as easily be a victim of racial profiling, and she probably still is. And these heinous things that have happened to women in the custody of law enforcement. Very mysterious things. Denise Richards, this woman, when I was in Malibu, I lived in Calabasas, went to school in Malibu, worked in Malibu. She was arrested the same year I lived in Calabasas near the police station that she was taken to because she could not pay her bill at this restaurant that's on the ocean, Joffrey's, which I have a story about Joffrey's from an old timer. I won't get into that. Well, yeah, I will. I mean, I know that Joffrey's actually, if you go there, there are condominiums right next to it. These little hotel rooms they used to be, and it was pretty much a brothel for the rich and the famous. You can go there and eat, and there were prostitutes everywhere. You can check out a room, and I know a guy that was a bellhop. He'd knock on the door, said some greasy, hairy hand would come out with, the money, take the tray, slam the door shut, smelled like sex, all this stuff. So this same restaurant calls the police on the young woman because she cannot pay her bill, which is rather unfortunate. I'm not saying that was legal. I'm not saying that was right. She is stoned on marijuana. And I know when I was high, paranoia was a bitch, especially in situations like that where whatever could go wrong does go wrong and you forget your wallet, you're in Malibu, you're out of your comfort zone. So she's scantily clad, she's wearing a cocktail dress, she gets arrested, taken to Lost Hills police station, and then she's released, and the footage shows that she's released without her shoes, without a purse, and that was the last trace of her. And she's just reported missing. This was very eerie to me because this police station was right behind my house. Like if you got off the exit, Lost Hills, off the 101, I lived right over there. These same officers would come and shut down our house parties or whatever. So her mother, after a while, goes into the woods, the Malibu hiking trails that are in between Malibu and Calabasas, and she ends up finding body parts of her daughter buried in the woods, even though the cops just declared her missing, closed case, and they have put pieces of the body together, and the mystery is still out there. And it just reminds me of a commercial where Halle Berry walks into a restaurant and she's seated in the back because she's black. And even though she's Halle Berry, because of the color of her skin, she's still discriminated against. And the fact that Beyonce has not taken her platform for granted, I'm gonna give her a round of applause for that. Which makes sense that from that freedom, she goes into Formation, which was off the Lemonade album, and I know she introduced that song at a Super Bowl halftime show with Bruno Mars, had the Black Panther gear, like bold, bold, bold. Then we move into Sorry, and how she's not sorry, and we're dealing with the Jay-Z thing, and she is definitely allowing struggles that real women, real people deal with. It doesn't matter if you're rich or famous. If someone is not being, as infidelity exists in your relationship, yeah, you have a right to be bitter. And the fact that she's bringing that emotion out in her music, I think that's why she can keep going, because she's drawing from real life, a core value, something that's really bothering her. And then she does this rendition of Flawless. I thought the song was called Flawless. She says it's called Bow Down. And then this like deep, distorted voice of a song, I've Been On. And that was just sick because it was so unexpected. And for her to remix the songs that she's so familiar with, it brought a new level of entertainment. It was, you couldn't expect anything. You might know the lyrics, you might know the words, but it sounded different. It bumped, like it made you want to dance. And then lights out, and she shows up on this platform coasting over the audience for Drunken Love, which the BPMs for Drunken Love, the beats per minute, are much slower, but it's so funny. That song will get people on the dance floor. Even though it's not a very fast, like snare drummy song like most hip hop club hits. It's really it's slow, and so for her to stand there and sing that was dope. Then she jumps into Diva, which dropped shortly after A Milli. I know that was produced by the same producer that produced Lil Wayne's A Milli. And for her to jump on that and not be scared to ride the wave or the coattail, the wave surfboard, of that sound, that's dope. And she killed it. So then she brings back Flawless. So I guess Bow Down was just a certain part of the Flawless song. Then she jumps into Flawless, and that is my jam. That music video is dope. She's got all the male model guys dancing around her, and it talks about feminism, and once again using her platform to have this conversation that definitely needs to be had, amongst, regardless of what color you are, the genders. And a little bit ahead of the Me Too Time's Up movement. I mean, considering this was years ago, she came out with this song talking about feminism. Maybe this was a catalyst for women to feel empowered, and it just had to sink in. I think that the song resonates even more and to a deeper effect with her fans and listeners and audience members because of what's all been going on. And then we get into that makes you want to dance 7-Eleven. And I love how she brings out that Houston, that Texas twang. She brings it out in Formation too. But 7-Eleven, that music video is sick. And you know it's a guaranteed, like, it's going to bump. That track bumps. So then it goes into a song called Hurt Me. I wasn't too familiar with. And it says Song for You or One on One. So this is where, you might not know the lyrics of the song, but as a performer, as a dancer, as a flat-footed singer, this is where she shows as a flat-footed singer, because she still holds the attention. She still holds the gaze. Even though I don't know every word to these songs, I care, which is just so beautiful. And then she goes back and ascends back up to the raunchy, sex-driven Partition. Beyonce, yes, Beyonce. And Partition is a good track. That's a really good track. It's really down to earth. It makes you feel like a little bit of a slut when you sing it or you listen to it. And you also can, I don't know about you, but envision yourself riding in that limo doing the whole Angelina Jolie, Billy Bob Thornton sex while the paparazzi's outside the door. They can't see in, but we can see them type thing. And then it says Mi Gente. So once again, another song that may not have necessarily been on the Billboard charts, but is within her range, her repertoire, and bringing the conversation again full circle with the marching band and how she utilized 100 dancers, and musicians. And then Baby Boy. I had a friend that knows the producer of Baby Boy, EST. He also wrote Me, Myself, and I. And I know that is when, back after she did Formation, she sings Sorry, and that's when she goes into Me, Myself, and I, which is pretty, that makes sense. That's spot on. Sorry, and then it got Me, Myself, and I. That's all I got in the end, and she's still digging deep. But moving on, Baby Boy, and then You Don't Love Me, and then Hold Up, Countdown. Those are dope. And Check on It. Like OG Jam, OG classic Beyonce, and Deja Vu. And that's when she brings out Jay-Z, her husband, and he kills it. And it was just like the track had just dropped that year, and you can tell they're in love and they're vibing, and it just let us know we're all gonna be all right. He's still got it. Jay-Z's looking great. He's looking fit. He's not letting age defy him, and pride either, for him to join his wife on stage. And I know they got the On the Run Tour 2 coming up. Like, I love that whole Bonnie and Clyde theme. It just makes us all feel like renegades as fans. So, the third circle, who run the world? Girls. And I like this. It's kind of a new age, this is a man's world, James Brown, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman's touch. It's like bringing that concept, that trope back into the conversation, and way more powerful, way more feminist and true. Dance Break was sick, and then Lose My Breath. So this is where the Dance Break is where she transitions, and they take their stations, Kelly and Michelle, under the stage, and they ascend up for Lose My Breath, and she brings out, the reunion of Destiny's Child. and the crowd went berserk. I'm here at home. I'm going berserk because you already gave us Jay-Z. Now you're giving us Kelly and Michelle. This is just no bars held. You're giving us exactly what we're craving, what we desire. And everything was spot on. You can tell she was struggling a little bit with the earpiece. Didn't stop her. Did not stop her. She slipped it back in. It all worked out. They talk about costume malfunctions, things like that. Watching it, I was not. I was nervous. I was on edge because you want to see someone do great. Like my mom's an actress, and when I watch her perform, I'm very nervous because I don't want her to mess up. And it was the same thing with Beyonce. I'm rooting for her, but at the same time, she's a professional. She can roll with the punches, and you do better next time. But how do you do better than this? And that's why I'm like, weekend two, like this is epic. So Destiny's Child is on stage. Lose my breath real quick. Bills, bills, bills. Cater to you. Say my name. And you know, say my name is just that. Shut it down. And the harmonies they did, the inflections, it was a remix. Beautiful. Just beautiful. You felt like they were all there together. It wasn't like the 2013 Super Bowl show where it sounded like Michelle's mic was turned down lower than everyone else's. They had equal parts, and I think it gave Beyonce a little bit of time to let her girls work. Her presence was really all that we needed for her to be in Destiny's Child right then, and she let her girls shine, Kelly and Michelle. And Soldier, I love how Kelly Rowland got down on that. She was getting really graphic with holding the mic like it was her man piece. And obviously she threw a sign up like she was smoking a joint, like she was really into it, and she sounded like they sounded several years ago when that song dropped. And then it was back to Beyonce, and yeah, it seemed a little short lived, but she gave us exactly what we wanted. We got to see our girls again, and we got to see the transformation, you know, the growth of Beyonce from Destiny's Child to this independent, to the queen of the music industry. And then she goes into Get Me Bodied and brings out her sister, Solange, as if we couldn't get enough. Like, I love this. She is keeping it all in the family. Everyone that's been there from the beginning, that's got her to where she was at, and they are dropping it like it's hot on stage, acting like they are two girls, you know, 16, 15-year-old, dancing in their room at a slumber party. You know, what we all probably do when nobody's watching when we listen to Beyonce. They gave us that. They gave us that moment. The choreography was great. Solange killed it. She looked great. Her hair color was on point. The costume, the wardrobe was so her too. And I feel like for her to show that side of herself, because I know she's definitely way more of the hipster indie sound, and it's almost like she has not sold out. She could have definitely put on some more poppy songs or whatever, but she is herself. She is not her sister, and for them to come together, it shows that women can be different. However, they march in stride together and they have their own style. And it was so beautiful to see the family. And one thing I noticed in general, and I tweeted this, was that Beyonce's performance and entourage and band was just like Trump's cabinet. One race. I'm not trying to be rude or offend anybody, but there were no white people on that stage. And I'm pretty sure that was intentional. I am pretty damn sure that was intentional. And it kind of needed to happen. And for her to use her platform, it's almost like maybe if you are of the Caucasian white race, I'm mixed, but I'm just, when you're mixed, you're black. Okay, whatever, light skin, whatever. So when I see Trump's cabinet pictures and people in Congress and they're all white, yeah, my heart breaks. My heart sinks a little bit. So somebody that had the attention, that has the gaze, that has the same amount of pull, if not more, to not really explicitly, but clearly clearly take pride in their people, and kind of dish it right back. It's a beautiful thing to see. And so for her to finish up with Single Ladies, obviously that was just, classic Beyonce staple. Like, and that was, who knows if she's peaked yet, but for so far, let's say this is the top. Like, the Single Ladies came out and just just nailed it. Just set her on the throne. She's not going nowhere. It's going to keep coming. You better get used to her. And she took the time to thank the audience in the end and everyone watching, and talked about how hard they worked, and it showed. It showed. And for her to be down to earth like that and take that time and break character, it was really cool to see that side of her. The marching band, the bugaboos, the stepping, just the heritage, the African Americana, the history that she brought to the stage. It just all made sense, and it was a beautiful thing to see, and it helped me in my depression. I was excited to watch that, and I laughed reading tweets, looking at the memes and the gifs that people posted regarding it when Destiny's Child came out, when Jay-Z came out, when Solange came out, and just Beyonce in general. Like, I was cracking up. And that's what this is all about. That's why people go to Coachella. That's why we are fans. And that's why it's okay to be a fan. It is okay, because it's the age old. I've gone to Italy and I've seen the Etruscan cities that were discovered. And the number one thing in every ancient civilization, all of these artifacts, all of these antiquitous towns have amphitheaters. Entertainment is as old as humanity. We need it to survive. So with that, I'm looking forward to watching again, if this is actually true, Beyonce round 2, Coachella round 2. I got some friends going. I had a friend go to Coachella. Me and him in sobriety, we talk every day on the phone, and it's pretty funny because he reminds me of ex. I'm gonna say an ex because we were emotionally dating, and then I got a better job than him, and he attacked me in a drunken stupor, but he was conscious enough to remember the next morning. And yeah, that was like straight up domestic violence. So this guy, it's such an unlikely friendship because he reminds me so much of him. They're both black, they're both tall, they're both athletic, and they both have the same demeanor and very similar voices. So I did not expect us to be friends, but now we hold each other accountable. I'll say we're sobriety brothers. And he was at Coachella, and he called me the first day, and he was pissed because everyone he was with, he was like, let's get the tent set up. And they're like, first priority, jungle juice. And he's like, I don't drink, so his priorities are a little bit different. And he told me that he was on his own, doing his own thing because people were either napping or at the campsite getting drunk, and then they were messed up. And, and for him to go out there, we knew it was a brave move. I told him, you can't miss Beyonce. If you have a ticket to Coachella, like, you're going for me. And he stayed in there. He hung in there. And he said that it all came full circle at Eminem's final performance of the event. And before he sang Not Afraid, Eminem gave a shout out and dedicated it to anyone struggling with addiction and alcoholism or knows someone that is. And he mentioned that this week, maybe today even, he's going to have 10 years clean and sober. And my buddy, he felt right at home when Eminem performed Not Afraid because he wasn't alone and there's no need to be afraid. And that's the beautiful part about sobriety, is that you get to enjoy those moments, you get to absorb them, and you're present for every part of your life. And I look forward to not regretting my life, not regretting being so zoned out and distant and escaped and just vacant. How I've been a majority for the last 10 years, drinking and smoking pot and experimenting with drugs. And so, with that, I'll talk a little bit more about depression. I know for me, I've been on television, I'm a model. I have had campaigns running for 26 weeks, and even though I don't feel confident in myself when I'm on set, they're like, take your shirt off and stand like this, and they love it. They love me. And then I see the pictures and I'm like, okay, I guess I look decent, or they help me look decent. But I really hold myself to a really high standard, and I've never, I haven't had a six pack since I was 8. So for me to be a model and an actor and have traction as that, and people find me, they tell me, oh, you're a good looking guy. And then they ask me for workout advice and nutrition and health and stuff. And I'm like, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought. So I figured I'd share a little bit of how I get over my depression with physical activity, diet, and exercise. And that is the one thing I know I'm depressed when it is straight up like a chemical imbalance, because my body feels weighted down. And I shared about this, that I listened to a message from TD Jakes. I listened to his podcast, and he was talking about how Paul, who wrote the Bible, was even depressed. And he mentions that they would even suffer death or something like that. Suffer us not death. And actually, I think that's another verse when demons say, suffer us not death, because they didn't want to die. They didn't want to leave the region. They were like, don't kill us, but we'll leave. Don't send us out of here or something. Anyway, T.D. Jakes explained that back in the day, when Paul was writing the Bible, back in those times, if you killed someone, they would tie the dead body to the murderer, to the killer. And that decomposing flesh membrane would seep into the pores of the person that killed them. And the only thing that could possibly restore you and keep you from suffering the death is God. And I have been feeling like a dead man walking. I was not able to get out of bed other than to walk my dog. And that's why I wrote my book, God Sent Dog, because even if I'm feeling horrible and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, I have got to take care of him. And I do take care of him. And that blood circulation, that exposure to sunlight, he does that for me. If I didn't have him, it'd be really easy to stay in bed all day, besides getting up to use the restroom. And just that little blood flow, those walks, and I tried to make them longer and listen to podcasts, it helps so much. And so I'm an avid believer and advocate for emotional support animals, because he gets me out of myself each and every morning. So as far as working out, I finally got back into the gym. This last year, I really got into rowing. I noticed at the gym, rowing machines are not utilized. People will hop on them for a few minutes, or maybe just even like a few strokes, and hop off. And I really wanted to get into it. And I had heard that rowers, and I remember in high school and college, like I'm thinking Army Hammer and The Social Network, like, whew, fine, like just fine. Like, I want to look like that. So I've been rowing, and I have noticed that my shoulders have gotten broader. It's a little bit easier to maintain my chest. I have always been a chest heavy guy, and I was pretty sedentary as a kid coming of age, and so I was husky. And then as I went through puberty, some of my friends started showing me how to work out and lift at the gym. Towards my senior year of high school, I got in good shape. But I've always been pretty insecure about my chest. It's just funny because now that I'm older, people love my chest. Like, guys that want to hook up, like, some of them, like, they're all about it. They're like, oh, those pecs. And I get the occasional, like, oh, nice breasts. And I don't even care anymore, because I get so much love from accepting myself and appreciating myself, that you can say that. And that's, if you need to go out of your way to make fun of me, then you must be having a really shitty day, and I pray for you, and I hope it gets better. And it's so funny because the people that say that, I don't see pictures of them. So, in any case, and yeah, I'm not even going to go down that road. So, rowing. I row on the rowing machine for about at least 20 minutes, and I've been trying to increase that time to 25. And then I'll do an elliptical matrix machine. So it's not, because the elliptical machines at LA Fitness where I go, it's like constraining. Like, it feels very unnatural. I'm 6 feet tall, over 200 pound male, and there's another machine that's like a matrix in between a Stairmaster and an elliptical, and you can change the grade of incline and decline. So I do intervals, and I read a very long time ago. They spice up your workout, and I'm a big advocate for recovery. And if I can recover while we're working out, so that means I am increasing the level of intensity of resistance. I'm increasing the incline probably after 3 minutes, and then every minute after that for the next 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll take it back down to my base level of resistance and let my heart rate come down, let my body restore, and then after 2 or 3 minutes start going back up again. And I'll do that on cycles for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, for about 20 to 25. I'm trying to get to the point where I do them for 30, and I've been pushing myself, but recently being sick, I felt really lightheaded for the first time ever. I seldom feel lightheaded in the gym. And I used to like it because I'm like, oh yeah, that means I'm burning fat. But I know, the human body is capable of much more than what we generally push ourselves. So one thing I did want to mention with regard to depression, diet, and exercise is that I have been eating out a lot. And I feel like I have my back up against the wall financially because I released this book and I'm off a disability for anxiety and post-traumatic stress. And I need to sell this book, but the royalties I'm going to make from these books are not that much. I mean, it makes sense, but, it takes money to make money. And I've wanted to do a podcast, but this is not all about my book. This is clearly about what I just enjoy talking about and what I hope listeners want to listen to. I was hoping there'd be a little bit more podcasts on Beychella, and because I'm sure there's like the typical like black folk podcasts, and I'm not hating or opposed to that. But just because you're black does not mean you have to be uneducated or sound uneducated. And depending on where you're from, the sound of your voice, the tone, the attitude, it can put people off. So I'm hoping to offer an alternative and just reach a middle ground, because I'm black and proud. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want to sound ignorant. And I've had to struggle with accepting my race because I grew up, my family calls me white boy. I was often the only person of color in my class, or at least black male. And growing up in places like Georgia and Virginia, you are made very aware of who you are because of what you look like. And so I had to start stepping out of the box to become myself and dress how I wanted to dress, because the black kids were like, oh, you're not black. And the white kids accepted me. So, I'm really grateful for my experience, because I've got to see a lot of the world, and by working hard and following the rules. And yeah, I acted gentrified to get where I needed to go. I worked the system, and I ended up going to the college of my dreams, and I tried my hardest not to break rules. I'm a little goody-goody. I don't have any siblings. It's only child. I had to get out. I had to get out of Virginia, just like the movie. And I did. So here I am, and I'm trying to live my dream, but And there's no buts. I am living my dream, just even simply by doing this podcast and being honest with people. It's just nerve wracking because there's no one to blame. And I'm only 100 some days sober, barely 100 days sober. And I'm just now getting to know myself. And I'm doing this. I'm becoming an entrepreneur, and it's nerve wracking. So I have been stress eating, and that means eating out and Taco Bell and Mod Pizza and Chipotle, and sometimes together in one meal. And then I get really down on myself that, oh, the working out I've been doing for the past few weeks, I don't look any different, or the scale's not going down, even though I might be shaping up a little bit. Oh, I'm not seeing it on the scale. And so then I get this body dysmorphia, and I'm calling myself a failure in my head. And that might usually be able to get over that, but because of some chemical imbalance, it was a real struggle. And I didn't want to die, but I was really debating on going to the hospital, because I didn't understand where this lack of motivation was coming from. And it was pretty debilitating. So I called my sponsor, spoke with my sponsor. We went out to eat, and I just heard what I didn't want to hear. You know, got to put one foot in front of the other. And I heard it from him. I heard it from my sponsee brothers, my sober brothers. And it's funny because I'll talk to my friends and they'll be going through it. And it's funny when you hear it and then when you're in it. And when you're in it, it's like you can't even communicate how heavy this cloud is that's above you. So I'm really grateful that I have a platform. And if you struggle with depression and anxiety, PTSD, I would love to hear from you. As this show develops as a platform, I'm going to start interviewing people and talking about what we can do to combat this in natural ways, because I'm really not a fan of I take two medications for anxiety, and then I take another one for depression. And I really think this new one for depression is the reason why I cannot lose weight, and I'm bloating, or I don't have the energy to put forth the work I need to in the gym. And then I'm getting cravings from a night med, Seroquel, and I've read that you're not supposed to be on Seroquel unless you're bipolar, and I'm so scared to come off of Seroquel, because when I tapered myself off of Seroquel last year, I went into such a sensitive, dark place that I'm actually fearful, and it's hard for me to sleep at night. So I take it to sleep. I take 50 milligrams, even though it's a 150 milligram prescription. I know I don't need 150. I would sleep all day if I took 150 every night. I'd be so lethargic. So I take 50, gets me to sleep, and I'm able to, live the rest of my day. And maybe that's what's contributing to it. Maybe not. Who knows? I am just hoping to get my life in order enough to where I'm financially stable and secure enough in myself and in my program and in my writing and in the marketing to kind of start talking to my doctor about staving off of the meds. And I want to do this all natural. Summer's coming up. I'm starting to feel better. Today, took Irie, my dog, to the park. We ran around the park. They were mowing the lawn at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which kind of pissed me off. And because the guy mowing was like looking at me like I was in his way. And I'm like, this is a park. Like, you should have came. But it was raining this morning. In any case, we made it work. So we ran a mile. And usually I can run 3 miles. I'm not going to lie. So maybe since I haven't been running too much, I've been on the machines in the gym. It's been like 225, 2.5. But he was kind of lagging behind, and it's so funny because when I throw the tennis ball, he will book it. He will jet for a good 20 minutes. He's just sprinting back and forth. But then when he runs alongside me, we have to find a pace together. And then I try to do some sprints and run down and do 25 push-ups, then go back to the other side about like 40, well, say 100 yards. No, 50, 60 yards. and then do abs. And so what I'm trying to do now is incorporate 2-a-days, because I hit the gym yesterday for the first time in a long time, and my depression has been alleviated greatly. And I also had a great meeting with my 12-step program and got some great feedback. And I prayed. I prayed feverishly. I really asked God to help me, and I meditated. I need to meditate after this, actually. I think that's what I'm going to do. So, and I'll be posting some guided meditations, because I really appreciate when hosts a podcast do that. I know Corey Allen, the Astral Hustle, he's another soothing voice and good level-headed guy, and he offers guided meditations. So I'm going to work on that, because I would lead meditations while I was in rehab, and the staff and the clients, they were very, very impressed. So I'd love to share that with you all, because it definitely helps me hear what God wants to tell me, and to just turn my brain to like airplane mode. Meditating is like turning my brain to airplane mode. I'm turning off the Wi-Fi. I am in the air. I'm going somewhere. I don't really care where it's at, but I'm not taking calls. I'm not thinking about anything worrisome or anything even good. I'm just thinking about breathing, and I can project my consciousness out of myself and help other people do that, and see ourselves from above and blast into space or under the ocean or into a tree. It's amazing. It's amazing. Or maybe even to Coachella, and we can all astrally project ourselves to Beyonce. Um, but ultimately, I am just super grateful to be here, and I wanted to make sure I keep contributing content as much as I can. So, as far as depression and anxiety go, changing my diet has helped. And if I am going to eat out, I'm eating salads, and I'm making sure I have my lunchbox. I have some protein shakes. Svelte is a California-based company, non-GMO, organic, gluten-free shakes. They're about 250 calories, and I use those as meal replacement. And they actually help me feel full for about an hour. I do need to get back on the nut game. No pun intended. Haha. Yes, girl. Almonds are very filling and good to eat. Amino acids. I like to ride with those in my car. I have these seaweed chips or snack, and I just cannot bring myself to open them. But what is weird is when other people have them and they offer them, I'm like, oh yeah. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put them off. So I should probably munch on those a little bit. But I've noticed a change in my diet has really helped, and being hungry, feeling a little hunger is okay. And I'm a big avid proponent for intermittent fasting. And I'm going to develop this idea a little bit more, but I think in May, coming up, stay tuned, intermittent fasting with Eric. I think I'm going to do my challenge again. And what I used to do was I would run almost 7 miles a day, and I would fast. So I wouldn't eat from sun up to sundown. And when I did eat, it would be soup or chili. And that, it was, it did not feel very comfortable, but the clarity of mind I received, and I used that pain to develop faith and to get closer to God, because that uncomfortability brings out purpose. If I'm comfortable, then, as T.D. Jakes put it, I'm nesting. I'm going to nest in you. If you are a comfort zone, if that job is a comfort zone, I'm going to get comfortable, and I'm not going to reach my full potential. So, ultimately, changing up the diet. Tuna is a good go-to. Pollock, frozen pollock, it's great protein-rich fish. Had a brief phone call I had to take right there. One of my sponsee brothers was looking for help for someone else, their couple trying to get into sober living. And that is a whole nother podcast. Ooh, you guys, I cannot wait to get into this mess. Sober livings, rehab, the opioid epidemic, yo, and the thousands and millions and billions of dollars these places are making off of trafficking kids, getting them to do heroin, getting them to relapse, getting them into different facilities, and just flipping their health insurance. It's sick and it's noteworthy. And we're going to dive into that. But back to the depression, eating, healthy eating. I've noticed a huge change in my demeanor after a few days of not eating out, cooking my meals at home, quinoa, Trader Joe's soups, fish, and meal prepping. So don't get me wrong, like I still splurge a little bit. I got a pizza last night from Mod Pizza. You know, those things are like a foot in diameter, but fresh ingredients, a lot of veggies. You can get a gluten-free crust, but I'm not I don't have celiac disease or whatever, so I can eat gluten. And it's funny because I did this Helix DNA test, and then Helix keeps your genome sequence, so you can use it for different programs. And I used it for National Geographic, their whole program. But then I also did EmbodyDNA, and I can look at my insights for the genes I have in regards to weight loss and nutrition. So with my genetic code, going through weight loss, body mass index, my BMI, I'm likely to have average risk of being obese or overweight. So me and my body mass index, it says my current BMI is 29.2. This is a couple of months ago. I should probably weigh myself and figure out what my BMI is now, with my height and weight. Recommendations for food: banana, grains, and chicken. So I was thinking about doing a ketogenic diet, but a ketogenic diet says stay away from grains, stay away from bananas. More recommendations: says avoid empty calorie foods, sugary foods, and those that have been stripped of nutrients, such as white bread, pasta, and rice. I really don't have a problem with that. I stick to quinoa. They cause fluctuations in blood sugar that may increase hunger. It says get plenty of sleep, and I have been getting plenty of sleep, and I've noticed that I'm able to work out, and I believe in recovery, so I'm only as good as my recovery. Get adequate protein in my diet. So it says try nut butter, eggs, protein shakes, or no grain granolas made of seeds and nuts to start my day. That's something I could definitely implement. No grain granola. And protein shakes to start my day. All right. If I intermittent fast, it's usually I'm skipping breakfast, and then I'm having like today I had boiled cabbage over quinoa for like lunch or brunch, you could say. It says load up on real fiber. Fiber is non-digestible, meaning it fills you up while your body is trying to figure out what to do with it. Luckily, fiber is often found in the healthiest of foods. Aim for fiber-rich whole foods found in nature and avoid artificially added fiber, like fiber energy bars, fiber drinks, fiber supplements, etc. Add in 100% whole grains, beans and legumes, seeds, nuts, fruits, and vegetables to get real fiber in your diet. So that's a recommendation for me. Upgrade those carbohydrates, up the ante for both fiber and protein. Consider bean-based pastas, nut and seed-based crackers, and sprouted bread. So I'm not too big on bread. I'm okay with kind of resisting it. It's just like the pizza crust and the tortilla shells and the burrito wraps. Those are where I get my carbs from, and that's what's been hard to knock out. Add in resistant starch. And resistant starch is a type of starch that resists digestion in the small intestine and goes directly to the large intestine to ferment. Studies show that resistant starch may increase fat burning potential in the body and provide the most benefit when these foods are eaten cold. What? So resistant starch is found in bananas, potatoes, grains, and legumes. That is interesting. Things I've been told to stay away from. As far as ketogenesis goes, it says stay away from those. Pop a probiotic. Uh, Now, I usually used to get my probiotics from kombucha, but because there's trace alcohol in there and I'm sober, I don't even play around with that. And I see people drinking kombucha at my 12-step meetings, and I'm not supposed to be taking their inventory. It used to piss me off because I'm like, you're straight up drinking in, you're not supposed to be drinking, like you're consuming alcohol. Like that's like drinking a non-alcoholic beer. Like there's still alcohol in it. You can still get drunk. Like, and for me, if I get that little taste, like it's off to the races. Like I am going to drink. And so even if it tastes like alcohol, the craving is going to be triggered in my mind. So I take probiotic supplements. I need to get back on that. And it says move it, exercise. It has good research about it. So then low fat diets are more likely to impact my body mass index. It says low fat milk, lean meat, fatty fish. So an estimated 17.5% of the world's population shares this trait. So a lot of people are good with high fat diets like eating avocado and healthy fats, whereas for me, those fatty fruits and vegetables kind of backfire, according to my genome sequencing. Saturated fat intake is likely to have an effect on your BMI. Well, no shit. So it says recommendations: apple, baby spinach, blueberries. I can definitely go for a little bit more of that. 5.6% of the world shares this trait I have for saturated fat. So I'm like, no wonder this is so difficult. I'm not really the typical person because these are very small percentages that share my body mass index risk of obesity. Sugary beverages, I drink plenty of water. I stay away from that. Physical activity, it says, is unlikely to affect my BMI. It says your genes indicate that exercising likely won't reduce your risk of obesity. What the fuck? So recommendations include walking, house cleaning, and elliptical. 43% of the world's population shares this trait. So that's a little bit bigger. So 43% of us, exercise likely won't reduce your risk of obesity. So the thing is, if I exercise, I easily put on muscle. And then I'm like, okay, I'm looking good, but my weight's not going down. And I type in my weight and height into a machine that's supposed to give me my BMI, and it still says I'm obese, but I could be like looking good. So I get it. Okay, I get it. Um, Nutrition, I'm likely to have normal levels of vitamin D, which is interesting. It says this. My doctor said I have low levels of vitamin D, so I try to get out, get into the sun. Magnesium, likely to have normal levels. Blood glucose, omega 3s, likely to have normal levels. I take plenty of fish oil, and what is this? Cod liver oil for my joints. I like to run and work out, and they say that it helps with depression, brain development. B6, more likely to have low levels. So I take B6 vitamin. Trader Joe's has a nice little small round pill. Tastes like cherry candy. You put it under your tongue. Vitamin B12 likely to have normal levels, and iron likely to have normal levels, which is weird. I think all this is likely, however, because of 10 years of drinking alcoholically, I've really damaged my vitamin intake and depleted myself. So, as far as fitness goes, endurance versus power activities, more likely to excel at power activities. And I have this construct in my head where I want to do endurance workouts because as a kid, like I said before, I was husky. And so I couldn't run very far. I could never do the mile on time. And I would often throw up when I ran and track and stuff. So as I've gotten older, I got into running, and like I said, I would run 7 miles a day a few years ago. Now I can run about 3 miles a day. But this is saying my genes suggest I could excel at power activities. So heavy weights, kettlebell, squats. I do have some pretty big thighs. It says use heavy weights when you train. Use a kettlebell or medicine ball to stimulate explosive, powerful movements.
Do only 2 to 6 repetitions of each exercise since your muscles will tire quickly with heavy weights or explosive moves. Rest at least 60 to 90 seconds between each set of exercises to let your muscles recover. This is something I can try because I need to start doing stuff that's different. And so I think I'm going to challenge myself to take these recommendations and see what happens. Maybe that's where I'm really hitting a wall because I think that I'm like everybody else. If I run, work or time times distance equals work, and I've been running and doing cardio and I'm trying to slim down, but it's not working. And I did notice a few years ago, in 2014, several years ago, I was weightlifting every day and I got my waist down to a 33, 32. So it says 36% of the world's population shares this trait. So a little over a third of us excel at power activities rather than endurance. Likely to have normal sodium levels, intolerant to lactose, not intolerant to gluten, metabolize caffeine quickly. Likely to have a sweet tooth. I'm not too bad with a sweet tooth. Chocolate is a weakness, I will admit. But who doesn't like chocolate? A couple of people I've met. In any case, you guys, as we round it up and finish it off from Beyonce to depression to health and fitness, I want you to stay encouraged and stay motivated. If you're hitting a wall in your workout, if you're hitting a wall in your career and job, it is time to delve deep and try something new. And you can try that something new little by little. But change is going to activate a new side of ourselves. And it's going to take courage, and we got to be brave, but we have got to be willing to try. And I know, I have it laid out here for me. I know you, if you do the proper research, you can find it laid out for you. I used genome sequencing, Helix, and EmbodyDNA to figure out. Hopefully, we'll see how accurate this stuff is, and I'll keep you guys updated. But if you struggle with depression and anxiety, physical activity is definitely a must. If we don't use it, we lose it. And you are here, we're sharing this experience of life on this planet for a reason. I firmly believe that, and I'm so glad that you're joining me on this journey. Continue to press forward. Let the haters, let negativity be fuel. And you are resilient, you are wonderful, and you are excelling. I wish you the best. I hope you stay encouraged and stay positive and shed some light in somebody else's life. That's what I really hope this podcast does, is brighten someone else's day. So whether you're driving or walking or just sitting and need some background noise and a friend to accompany you, I'm here. So subscribe. We're on iTunes. We got approved. We're here, baby. Let me know what you think. If there's something you'd like me to talk about or get some feedback from people. I am trying to amass the funds to actually get a studio. I'm not just trying. We are. We're going to get a studio. We're going to get a mic. We're going to get special guests. We're going to investigate. We're doing it all because we can, and we got this. So hang in there. Keep doing the damn thing. And maybe, just maybe, a live podcast during Beyonce's Coachella performance. What do we think? Maybe? I don't know. We'll see. I have to pick someone up from the airport on Saturday. Damn it. Okay, anyway, another story for another day. This is the Rhetorical Sake. I'm ER Hunter, aka Earth. Thank you all so much for joining me. And subscribe, give us a high rating, and erhunter.squarespace.com. That's where you can find me. You can email me. And God Sent Dog, Chasing God Alcoholically. My books are available on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. So you can read them for free on Kindle Unlimited, digital. save the environment, save on paper, um, I would be so honored. I'd be so honored. So thank you all so much. It's a pleasure, and I will talk to you soon. Ciao, ragazzi.